Welcome back. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed for your time. We're grateful that you can stay with us. This is Wake Up Africa is live on Dominion TV. We're also live across our socials, My Dominion TV. All you want to do is to drop your comments, your thoughts, your submissions, your questions, especially as we get into the news review segment. We get to share the perspectives of our guest on the news making headlines across the world, on the continent of Africa, and most importantly, here on the local scene, right? And so be our guest and be our special guest. But of course, stay hydrated, stay satisfied. And I'm introducing to you Aqua Clear mineral water, your partner in purity, sourced from pristine locations and treated to perfection. Aqua Clear water undergoes rigorous filtration, purification, of course, mineralization to ensure crystal clear and healthy hydration for your home, office, or event. Or you need to get your 20-liter bottle of dispenser today. Contact them today, +233 0241732 880 or 0559488707, or visit them at the Action Chapel International, Spintus Road. Aqua mineral water, drink purity, feel satisfied. Also, big thanks to the hospital, the Bank Hospital, because they're associated with the Wake Up Africa morning show. For all your medical needs, visit the Bank Hospital where care meets excellence. You can find them at cantonments near Nafti here in Accra, Ghana. The Bank Hospital, your trusted partner for quality health care. Call them on 0302 739 373. And of course, for any needs, the health needs, let's meet at the Bank Hospital. Well, you know, one of the ingredients that makes your stews and soups taste great is Gino tomato mix. It's thick, red, of course, rich, just the way you like it. Gino tomato mix is your go-to for that unique blend of tomato concentrate, fiber, of course, essential vitamins, including vitamin A, D3, fiber, and zinc, treating your family to tasty and delicious meal. It gives your meal that deep red appeal, rich texture, and of course, mouth-watering goodness every single time. And so go on and make your next meal unforgettable with a thick, rich, red, and rich Gino tomato mix, because Gino truly cares. Remember that these adverts is FDA approved, right? My guests are seated now, ready to help us, get into the issues, if you like. Dr. Justice Apia Kubi is a development expert, of course, a dean for Dominion Theological Seminary. And there's also Reverend Nanaya Bafoboni, who is an architect by profession and, of course, by calling, leads the Eagles Network International Ministries. Thank you very much,
Thank you for having
distinguished
us.
guests and gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
It's good to have you. Absolutely. We spoke to you yesterday, but are you okay? Is everything all right with you?
By God's grace.
Right. Okay. Great. Right. Anyways, let's get on to the very first one. And it has to do with the petition by the family of Mr. Keno Foriata with regards they placing of course, the Office of the Special Prosecutor placing him on red notice, on Interpol red notice. The family of the former Finance Minister Keno Foriata has accused the Office of the Special Prosecutor of abusing its powers in what it calls a premeditated vendetta against the former official. In a statement released on Monday, June 9th, the family condemned the issuance of Interpol red notice and declared the OSP's actions as violations of due process, constitutional rights, and international law. They have formally petitioned both the National Central Bureau and the Commission for Control of Interpol's files, CCF, for the immediate deletion of the red notice, arguing that it was procured based on manipulated evidence and withheld medical information. And according to so quite a number of them, they had to that particular letter had to do with what they call OSP's manipulated evidence for arrest warrant, running from surgery, not justice. That's the claim of the OSP, which they say is false. Legal action and human rights challenges. They are challenging the legality of the arrest warrant and the conduct of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. They also claim that this is not justice and it is vendetta. Right, so these are the facts as we have it with regards to the letter that was sent to these protests. Immediately I saw videos of, the older folks who were demonstrating and picketing at the finance ministry back in the day when they were fighting for their locked up cash, especially when the haircuts happened and all of that. I saw videos surfacing online and all of that. But that is to say, you, the family, you are shouting for your man. Look at the families that were picketing even at their age. But talk to me about it. I mean, every family deserves to do this for their person.
Yes, of course. It's within their right to do whatever they are doing. There's a saying that not anyone who goes to court first wins the case.
Right.
So why not? These are all part of testing the strength of our democracy, testing our justice system, testing our rule of law. So let's see how it goes. But some of the things that they are saying of accusing the OSP of, I don't think so that it will hold anything. At least that's what I think. It will not hold. That is the fact that OSP has manipulated. They should give us a break. But let's see how it goes.
Writing to this very top places, I don't know what you make of that. Still in their rights though, but for them to pick letters or pen and paper or if you like write to these
yes, of
places.
Course. You like to do everything possible to save your family member. Yeah, so I mean, you go very far to do it. So to me, what they are doing actually to me is even commendable. Actually, the fact that you fight doesn't necessarily mean you, but at least the writer will know that the family are behind him.
I see.
Yeah, so it's okay.
Interesting. Very interesting. I don't know what your thoughts are.
On which one? What the family is doing,
yeah,
what the
absolutely.
OSP is doing, or the totality?
Oh no, I mean we spoke about the OSP. I think that
because I would like to address it looking at the complete picture. You see, because I've listened to a few legal opinions on this matter. And much as the OSP is within its rights, others also have proffered that we have international laws that would have allowed the American jurisdiction to effect an arrest for the purpose of getting the caution statement from him, so that on that basis, the OSP can proceed before he even comes into the jurisdiction, which is an option that the OSA has not explored and has rather painted a picture that people are insisting he does Zoom and he can't take a witness statement on Zoom. But I'm told that there's some mutual legal assistance act that works internationally, and then Ghana has done that for other countries, and America is willing to do so for us, vice versa. So
well, there are some nuances I hear again from.
No, what I'm saying is that the essence of the OSP wanting him in person is so that we can take a statement, because he's only coming to assist with investigations. He's not being charged.
Right.
So if at that level the person is being uncooperative because of, or seemingly uncooperative because they're outside of the jurisdiction, there are remedies and cures for that.
Right.
And the OSP is what we say in our Kan language, he has taken a tintin stand. You must come physically, you know. And
but how do we know that he's in the United States of America?
No, he has given that address very clearly. And the Mayo Clinic that keeps writing the letter where he's supposedly going to undertake that surgery is in that jurisdiction.
Okay.
But the flip side is that, for me, I think that Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta either thinks he is bigger than Ghana or the law by his posturing. And I think that his family should have been minded to rebuke him and reprimand him for that. You understand? Well, I come from a family, especially I'm not expect both my paternal and maternal family. We are a people that will tell you to the face when you are wrong. We will not throw you out there to be butchered, but we'll call you in there and tell you to the face, because we are guided by certain principles. And I hope that that was the principal position the family would take. Because if you said that you were going to do some medical treatment, the understanding that the OSP got is that it is that process that will require even recovery time. That's why way back in March, he's giving you such a long rope for the surgery and for the recovery. Then you notice that maybe it's not a surgery, it's a biopsy, it's a minor procedure. I think that you should have reached out to the OSP that, well, I mean, whatever I'm doing now will not require that long break. Can we engage within this interval till the scheduled surgery on the 13th of June? But now that the thing is that there in the public domain, you're letting it look as if the OSP is pretending to be oblivious of your health situation and is unwilling to cooperate, and it's letting you look like you are lying about your disease. The feeling that you are lying about your disease was generated by his blasé and nonchalant attitude. That thing where it's like, well, if you have given me the time, you know, and I've still not done the surgery. I don't think that anybody that has a problem with the law should arrogate to themselves that level of laxity. And for that, I am not particularly pleased. Like Doc said, the family is well within their rights to protest. People have even protested against our presidents at the UN, holding our placard and all that. So you can write to ICC, International Criminal Court. You can write to even the courts of heaven if you so choose. But the law is the law. You understand? And for me, I don't want that you mentioned people putting pictures of people picketing. It's not a vendetta. When we do that, it begins to look like now you smell pepper tit for tat. It's not a vendetta thing. There are issues to be addressed. Some of the things have been mentioned, SML, other contracts, things that were so saucy. There are breaches that the OSP suspects. They are all suspicions. They are all allegations. Come clear yourself, and life moves on. And you and I know, I mean, if unless you have not been following international news, President Joseph Biden himself had been dealing with prostate. The American government is under pressure that they concealed it. He was not just a finance minister, he was president. And he did it for 4 years. And if he had not been prevailed upon, he was willing to go for a second term. So he has looked over 330 million people, over 50 states. He's looked after them. You know, made decisions on war, peace, send missile, bomb, don't bomb, send aid to Middle East and all that. He was able to do that, you understand? Because people argue that if you were well enough up until the time where you flew out of the country to be the finance minister and all that, and even after you were shuffled, he was still given a portfolio at the presidency, meaning that you have been that strong, yet he had resigned from Data Bank on health grounds, yet he could manage Ghana on the same health challenges. So you see, there are things in the history and the trajectory that is making OSP believe that you are not being honest. And history supports, even if OSP is being mischievous or as the family claims he is doing persecution, we have lent ourselves to that persecution. You see, so I think communication is key. Mr. Foriata must not wait for the OSP to always flash a yellow card before he comes on his knees. And again, remember, there was also a breach of trust. The first time they said they should take his name off, he's not even taking the case out. He's still suing the OSP for putting him on the red alert. Now tell me, if you are the OSP and then, you know, emotional intelligence doesn't come in, you will just keep, you know, punching each other back and forth like that. So I think that Mr. Ken has served his country. He took a very honorable position, controlling the country's purse. I think the title honorable must matter. And I don't see why all this must be in the media space, really. I mean, the family knows the OSP's office. There are people that can prevail on the OSP. Give them some sort of audience, and this thing will come to, you know, a certain amicable settlement that we can find a way out.
The constant briefing by way of the presses also puts the matters in the public, and so
no,
it's only okay
but
serve
Mr. Foriata is a public officer. God forbid, God forbid, God forbid a million times. If Mr. Foriata should pass away today, you and I know we don't have to think twice. He's going to be given a state burial.
Absolutely.
He's going to be even flown in here at the expense of the state. So if you are a public officer, you don't expect your matter to be discussed at some drinking spot inside the ghetto of Kojo Sardine. Definitely not. And the institutions he's supposed to have dealt with, the electricity sector, SML, they are not people's personal companies founded in their garages. So definitely it is going to be there. I think that we should be able to filter out all the pettiness and the things that are making the situation murky. Mind you, some of the judges that will sit on these issues also, they are also listening to the news. Before they will have to recuse themselves from public discourse and sit on when the matter starts proper, they are hearing things. And they are human. You are going to have people having certain predispositions because of your posturing. Because let's assume that right now this case has started, right? And then Mr. Foriata his lawyers don't inform the judge.
Right.
and then he's absent from court, then they just bring a letter. You say, you are doing your thing again. You get what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying, that there are things you don't do because you are in a legal space and it can be very slippery.
I see.
That's it.
Interesting. Doc?
Yeah, I totally agree with what
Right.
yeah.
Right, I see. Okay, so we'll go to the next topic for the day. The transport operators suspend planned strike over one Ghana city fuel levy. Commercial transport owners or operators have suspended their planned nationwide strike over the newly introduced one Ghana city levy on fuel. Following a meeting with the Ministry of Transport on Monday, June 9th, the decision to halt the industrial action came after the ministry assured operators that the levy would not affect prices at the fuel pumps. The operators who had announced a strike to begin on Tuesday, which is of course today, June 10th, say they are standing down temporarily to monitor the actual impact of the levy. Their initial concern stemmed from fears that the new one Ghana city change per litre on petroleum products would directly increase the fuel costs, affecting transportation fares and operational expenses.
Yeah, for this one, I will let Rev talk more even about it because I still don't understand the whole thing out. Like, we are adding one CD to whatever you are buying, but you are not going to feel it because it will not be added. I'm still not getting it. Because I was just listening to Maru Sanda talking to, I think, the assistant, the deputy something. And when he kept on pushing the man, he finally said that actually there was, they were about to adjust
That's
the
the
fuel
plan.
again to go down. But because the one city that they have added, it's not going to go down, but it's also not going to go up. So the argument was that you are still actually adding. It's not like something that, oh, I am going to slap your face, but you will not feel any pain because I'm using foam.
Doc has powerful analogies. I just love him for that, you know.
So when I was listening, I said, someone was coming and I read, I said, this one, I think I better let the Rev explain this to me because I still don't get it. I still don't understand the whole thing.
But he has explained it, you know. I think that you see the government itself knows.
But do you think that, forgive me, don't lose your thoughts.
No, I'm not at all.
Do you think that we get to to demand for too much when there's nothing? Because people say that as far as we're concerned, some months ago we were buying at so and so price. It's falling to this amount of money, and so even if it were to be added, let's just say it were to be added, it's going to be insignificant as compared to, you think that probably we have been fed too much, that we ask for too much when we don't have to?
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
Stance, you know? And the government itself knows that this particular policy is not popular with the people.
Right.
And beyond its popularity, yesterday I stated clearly that it's like a surprise has been sprung on us. And I don't think much of the hue and cry is really coming from the lack of engagement, you know, and letting the thing be tossed around in the public domain, you know, for a while. Sometimes, you know what, one of the things I saw that the NPP administration did very well, anytime they wanted to do some of these unpopular things, they will always spark it off like a rumor and allow it to simmer and all that. So if you realize the e-levy, in the end, we didn't charge the percentage that was proposed from the onset, you know, but then we will do it. But let's gauge the Ghanaian temperature. Let's gauge how their receptivity level. Then we can fine tune and then, you know, so I for instance, would have, if I were this government, I, for instance, would have asked for something like 2 cedis. It will make everybody mad. And you know, Ghanaians, we always want half of something. Because since the 1 cedi came, everybody is saying 50 pesos. That look, the thing, it has fallen by from 15 thereabouts to about 11. Ghana, that's 4. So the 4 cedi, you dash government 2 cedi. No, we agree, we'll give government 1 cedi. The matter dies quietly. But I think that it was rushed, it was done hush, and that's why we are having this backlash. So that is what is making it unpopular. But what I know is that, you see, Ghanaian people are very understanding. What we need is transparency on these things. That, listen, this is an escrow account sitting here. Nobody touches it all the money goes there and it is used for procurement of liquid or whatever gas fuels for our thermal plants. Every quarter, there's a briefing, comes to Parliament. We all know what is going. You see, because we've seen these things before, where monies are taken. In the end, so there was pressure. We needed to increase doctor salary, so we push the money, we'll recoup it. That's the thing that has brought us to where we are. You see, and people we've elected and trusted the positions can't keep playing us like that. And then after they are taking a bad decision, they come to us to pay for the bad decision. I don't think that it's fair game. So if government can look at the legislation in such a way that there's that level of transparency and there's going to be that fiscal discipline. The money is ring-fenced and it is dispatched for its purpose.
Right.
All well and good. But as for the transport owners, I don't want to sound rude, but I think that sometimes they make too much noise. You understand? Look at how it was a struggle for them to take off this 50 pence West thing. I watched footages where some mates had to be literally assaulted by passengers because they are unwilling. You remember the Kumasi story where the driver actually took them to the destination. He wanted the old fare. The people said, no, you must. Then he drove them back to where he
happens every time. Even here in Accra.
But that story was making rounds. You can see clearly that it just smacks of logic, because what about that fuel you've wasted for that to and fro and gain no money for it because you are protesting? So they are protesting. Let's calm down. Listen, in these 8 years, people were not holding our past government to ransom. Now it looks like now people have found their voice. Every small thing somebody wants to strike. Yeah. We thank God they've called it off, but they should calm down.
Yeah,
they should calm.
But
down.
he wanted some explanation.
Yeah, but So
about the one CD thing.
Yes.
Well, what KCL Atuforsen Honorable was explaining, the understanding I got was that the gains from the economic upturn and the currency gain, which is reflecting in global oil price that has come down, plus the strength of our currency, is leading to a downward spiral in terms of the cost of these petroleum products. So then what is being done is that instead of constantly reducing it at every pricing window, that one CD is factored in. In fact, COMAC, which is the chamber of the oil marketing companies, were actually protesting and asked for an extension, primarily because apparently the government's position is that these monies are actually going to be paid upfront by the oil marketing companies, and then they recoup it as they sell. And they are saying that currently they're also having liquidity challenges. It is so sudden, and they have to prepare them. So that's why I'm saying that if the finance minister had done a bit more broader consultation, they shouldn't fear that.
There would have been a big no, a big fat no.
I doubt it.
Oh my word!
I doubt it.
You sure?
Oh yes. You see, look, the kind of goodwill that this government is enjoying, you will not believe it. Listen, I've listened to commentary on some of the sister stations and radio stations. When people express all their anger, one of the things that you see running through is that, if we will be honest, these people have done far more for us in 5 months than we've seen in 8 months, in 8 years. See, so that comparative analysis is sort of sobering things down. That's why I also think the government is trying very quickly to rush all these blows and jabs before the goodwill fizzles out, because, like Mahama himself said, Ghanaians we forget very quickly. So they want to us in the honeymoon and we have the sweet of the honey in our mouths, to be mixing the bitter leaf and everything very quickly, so that by the time we settle, we have a blunt taste that can take us through. So I think that engagement would have been, look at the increase in the electricity tariff, that 14.75. You didn't hear any noise in town. People just felt that, listen, the guys have come, they've met debts. You see, and that is why, it's not, I don't know whether it's on today's agenda, but that is why I'm a little pained by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association's posturing. You get my point? That let's give the government, listen, you have negotiators, they are well within their rights. It's time for implementation. But the whole minister is pleading with you. Listen, look at how long it has taken to get to this point. Do you think if practically something could be done to salvage the situation, the ministry and the government will just watch and let people die on the hospitals? Normally, when there's health sector, there's a certain quickening and urgency the government attacks the matter with. But they are saying that the preliminary budget that was done by Atuforsen at the beginning of the year has no place that this thing has been catered for. A supplementary one will come in August. Supplementaries, you're not asking for new bills, you're only asking for top-ups. So in the year ahead, the fiscal year ahead, it will now be fully onboarded. And even if because I would have argued that, okay, fine, then you give us 6 months of the year we have lost. Even as on, so sort of back pay. There's a way we can meet each other halfway. But when we take these entrenched positions, it's not very healthy for a very new government that has come. And I think Professor Mills did that with single spine. He was able to convince Ghanaians that, listen, let's step on the brakes and let me put some things here and there. And then when he launched it, there was joy and happiness. In fact, he said that the economy, he said that if you put it on the spine will break. I don't know if you remember that. Prof was such a hilarious, very gentle soul, rest in peace.
Of course. Doc, you wanted to add something?
Well, you said something that Osofo was saying that he doesn't agree with you. That I also want to even add to it. That it's like what you are saying. It's like, oh, for Ghana, we don't deserve better. The previous government was really killing us. So now we have been able to take you out of the woods. So just be around and they can do better than that. It just brings my mind to which I thought that politicians generally, especially African politicians, play with, so much with that book by Stalin. You know, when Stalin came to power initially, he called all his cabinet and took 2 live chicken. And he said everybody should look at him. And he will be pulling the feathers of the chicken live. And they will, the chicken were just screaming. And you pull, then they'll scream, pull. Removed all the feathers, while their blood all over them, left them lifeless, and got chicken feet and just put it there. And they will be try to get it while they are dying because they want to survive. Then they start fighting. So what do you do? They say, well, this is how rare politics is. Let the people suffer so much that when you give them chicken feet, they think that you are their God.
Meanwhile, you are the cause of the problem.
Yes, exactly.
That's the Stalin principle.
And sometimes politicians, especially in Africa, play that you suffer, then they make the things go down. No, don't let them go too down. If they go too down, they'll be too comfortable. So just see to it that you manage them like an egg. Don't hold it too strong, it will break. And don't hold it too loose, it will also fall down. So just manage it. We don't like those things. We can also live better life. That's what we are all trying to say.
There's some positivity in that as well. I see it from this other angle where when you consider the home and the child, you've got abundance. It does not mean that when you have abundance, you throw it all out there because then it increases the appetite and, of course, the taste buds become big. So much so that the day you don't have it, you cannot afford. So you manage. That's why it's called management. So that's what I see from. Not the Stalin principle, actually.
I know. But also, the problem is this, that let's look at other countries. Because if we said that, I think it was TD who said, if we do what you've always done, we will be where you've always been. Okay, let's look at other countries. If we want to be like America, we should do what the Americans do in order to become like them.
They pay bills, a lot of it, and get the system fixed.
That is the citizen. What about the government?
Yes, they get the system fixed.
That is my point. And so it goes both ways. And so we have to, my point is that I really think Ghana, we deserve better.
Oh, yeah, of course
we really do. And so they shouldn't take us for granted that, oh, now we have reached, what do you call that? Now $10 to $12 is enough, so the exportation will be blah, blah, blah. There are some other countries, yes, we know, there are a lot of arguments on that, but we can do better.
That's right.
Ghana can do better. That is actually my point.
That's right. That's right. I agree. I like to look at things very differently as well.
It's important.
But let's get on to some news for our younger folks. For some of us, no matter how it is, we couldn't have given birth to children who were writing BC by this time. Over some 600,000 candidates to sit 2025, the basic education certificate examination, BC, scheduled to run from Wednesday, 11th of June. if that the date is right, to the 18th of June. The Ghana Education Service announces the figure ahead of the nationwide exam. Says the cohort comprises 297,250 males and 306,078 females from both public and private schools. With all materials and timetables already dispatched to centers, the GES says it is fully prepared for a smooth and credible examination process. Of course, but there were some cautions by the Ghana Education Service Director General, Professor Kofi Davis, who says, and I quote, "We need the cooperation of all stakeholders to ensure that the examination malpractice of all forms is reduced to the barest minimum or eliminated, because examination malpractice does not have a system to accurately measure the performance of the students. Once students are cheating their way through, it is difficult to ascertain how well our education system is performing. So we are appealing to all to support us in fighting examination malpractices. Invigilators who are caught aiding examination malpractice will be severely punished," he cautioned. Unquote.
Yeah,
We'll come to some angles, but let me
just a while ago, I was leading every Monday. My old man, Papa, leads the prayer for devotion, and I do on Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was there doing the prayer, and people who come for prayers. Some people brought their children for BCA exams, and I was like, oh, okay. That was how I came to find actually there's BCA exams.
But I'm surprised it's not starting on a Monday this time. I don't know why. It always starts on a Monday. You didn't school here, did you?
No, I stood here.
Okay, right.
But we were the A.
I'm sorry.
The old folks.
I'm sorry.
I know you want the viewers to know that I'm that old.
And I'm also giving myself out. That's not too good.
So he's in between us.
Oh, is he? I'm not sure. No. The way he gave you the look. He said, "How dare you? How dare you attribute BC to me?"
We had the A and O level time.
I wrote BC too.
You did?
I told you.
Oh.
When I was there, we were running concurrently, but I chose to go by the new system.
Oh, I see.
When I was in Achimota school, I went to meet the last batch of the OA level people. They were in Form 4, then we had Form 5, lower 6, upper 6.
Okay.
But then, so I actually was the third batch of
BC.
those who did the new educational system.
Oh, okay.
You are the ones we refer to as relatively young or relatively old, depending on where
The circumstantial,
it's either half full or half empty.
Exactly.
Yeah, we were the last batch.
Right.
Last batch of the OA level.
Right.
Yeah, and so I prayed for them, really, believing God that our children will pass. One thing that I realized, it looks like the number this time is big.
Is it?
That's an increase, about 6% increase also.
Yes.
But it's always been around this.
Yeah,
but
the statistics is
increase.
about a 6% increase.
Yeah,
Right.
And private candidates has increased by approximately 20%.
Yeah.
total.
So we pray that not just only them doing well, but also them getting schools.
Right.
And that's this same old protocol thing. I remembered when my first boy finished this thing. He got, I think, 8 or something. And even the other, this were just 2. But most of them, especially science subjects, he got all 1. And the schools that he chose, I won't mention the school, that they couldn't get him. And so, or they didn't get him. He was surprised that his classmate who got 28 or 25 got that school.
Ouch.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's depending on the course, because that's what normally happens. Or when you choose a school, let's say, sorry to interject, a school like Achimota School, right? Which is very competitive, and you have chosen a course that so many, they are not under pressure to admit, let's say, like home economics, and you had, let's say, 18, you could easily get in. But if you went to choose science or some of the high-end liberal arts courses that are these jog maths that people are clamoring to do, fellow Ghanaians, you may end up on the wrong side of the equation.
Interestingly, one of his classmates, in fact, his best friend, who chose the school that my son finally went, they didn't get because he got 15, which was very unfortunate because the boy is really brilliant. He's supposed to do.
I think that's what.
I'm coming.
Okay.
He he got the school that my son didn't get and did the same science.
Oh.
So they just passed. So my son went to the school because my son even didn't choose that at all. He also didn't choose this school at all.
There's a fellow Ghanaian situation.
Yeah, so we praying that they will do well, and also praying that at least the children will do well in such a way that they will get the schools that they are. But we also have to let them understand that, in fact, it's not necessarily the school that you go that will really make you successful in life.
Absolutely. Which school did you go to?
Prempe.
Ouch.
But it didn't make me successful because I went to Prempe.
Right.
Yeah,
It's a contributory factor, but it's not the only contributory factor.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
all.
you. There's Duchum always used his school as an example where he went. I mean, we don't know in King so whatever in this school, and you see what, and we have a
But
lot
it
of
turned out well. I see. Interesting. Your thoughts before we get into some of the issues around it?
Koku, the truth is that when I first saw this, there are some young folks in church. I prayed with them. I told them, you see, one of the things about my approach to the gospel and to the word of God is that I believe there's a default in the European gospel that was presented to us because it tried to just push spirituality, did very little about critical thinking, innovation, and creativity, and made us have a dependency mindset. So before I pray for these young men and a young lady who was with them, this is what I told them, and I'll tell any BC candidate and parent watching. God will take care of only the divine elements, retentive memory, favor in your marking, errors in computation. He'll deliver you scandals at exam centers that could get your results with help. All those things that are outside your control, the divine element will step in. But you must have past questions you are solving. You must read, you must study. You must do all the necessary classes and burn the midnight candle. Because if God is going to give you retentive memory, it's the word is memory. There must be something there,
like
for it to be returned to you. So we do your part, and let's trust God that by His grace, He will see you through. Another issue also that came to mind, I just kept asking myself, 600,000. Is the government prepared to take on these guys free SHS? This is the new burden, financial burden that is coming into the system. And by virtue of how the policy runs, unless any of them opts out, all of them will be placed.
Yes.
So plus or minus, we are looking at least nothing less than 550,000. My second thought was that beyond schools being available and then the financing being available, will they all terminate after SHS? If they will not, do our universities, polytechnics that have become technical universities, our training colleges that have become education colleges, and our court vets and all the rest, are they all strategically positioned to be able to absorb at least 70 to 80%? You know, and I realized that that's the thinking that we have refused to do. We have a very pyramidal mindset in our planning. You know, we are not looking at the thing becoming more like a distorted cylinder, where it is bigger at the base, but it's still big at the top. It just it's a little narrower. But we really have a very serious apex system, and many are going to fall off. And I think that's what Doc alluded to when he spoke about this protocol thing. Look, it will be totally unnecessary. In most of the developed countries, these protocol things and people leveraging influence, it only comes when people want to go to certain Ivy League schools.
Exactly.
You see, but the issue is that we've gotten to the point where even when it is not a special school or extraordinary school you want to go for the purpose of prestige, Koku, is a struggle. It's a struggle. It's a real struggle. So we should try to ease up. And I think, I don't know whether it was this representative who had gone to one of the E-blocks or something. You know, if we can look, my former office was part of those who were supervising that project, you know. And Koku, let me tell you the truth. Apart from Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's GET schools, he built the Labone, Accra High, Accra Academy. You know, they all have that same design. You know, apart from that intervention, that free SHS would have been the biggest singular intervention in our educational history. It was a complete design. It had all the 4 labs: physics, chemistry, biology, agric lab. It had a book library, computer library. There was a sick bay. then there were at least 2 to 3 classes. And you know the funny thing, we are designing it in such a way that the floor slabs had incorporated all the pipe works for the lab. So you don't have to chisel. It's not something you have to improvise. You know, then as part of it, there was at least a 3-4 story, 2-bedroom apartment attached there for staff, even though it was a day school. But the teachers are always around and on time. There was a headmaster's residence. Then there was a canteen also. So it's like when you put it there, it's that you have planted an achimota in some dry and Kwanta district. You have planted some achimota in, you know, some cherepone, you know, so they were going to be like growth poles where what you are doing is you are placing some of these A-list schools there. And because of the ancillary facilities, it will attract certain type of teachers of certain quality to migrate in that direction. And the plan also give them certain incentives, even motivate them to be there. You see, and then the pressure on the Prempers, the Opokuwaris, the Achimota, you went to Mauli, eh?
Yeah, of course.
All those ones will just be gone. Yeah, all the Mauli and all these guys, they'll have more easement, the infancy payment, the rest. And Charlie, we were just going to, so I think that some of the, I don't know whether there can be legislation that can be passed to protect some of these things. But when we do it, let's look at that bigger picture and let's get it done. We wouldn't have been here. Because free SHS is a brilliant idea, but it has been seriously frustrated by infrastructural limitations. You see, so if we can, we ended up just putting the cart before the horse. Let's go back and strengthen that horse to have horsepower. And no matter how much we load the cart, the horse will be able to drive it to a very good destination.
Very interesting. I don't know whether they've chosen schools already, but I understand there are some new guidelines.
I think that is a guideline now from GS that the schools will be chosen before the exam. Subsequently, they chose afterwards.
Okay. So they have chosen the schools already?
That was a new guideline. I don't know whether that's
okay. So, but under the new guidelines, candidates are expected to select 5 schools of their choice, 2 others making 7 in total, right? As part of the selection, candidates are expected to select 1 school from category A, not more than 2 from schools from category B. However, a candidate can select all 5 schools from category C. Candidates interested in TVET education are required to select all their 5 choices in TVET schools, but in same order of 1 from category A, not more than 2 from category B, or all 5 schools from category C. Out of the 5 schools, a candidate is expected to select 3 of them as boarding and 2 day, right? So yeah, I think that's
and I think that the additional 2 at the bottom also is supposed to be within a catchment where you actually live or something like that. I think there's a rule like that because I think there's a concessionary. So let's say if a child was in Dodoa or Adenta or EB area and they chose Ganata and they were day students and their grade was good, will be given preferential admission because of that catchment allocation. There's some rule like that.
But that means that he's going to be day, right?
Exactly. So that people also don't have to put too much pressure on other schools. Because I think the argument most parents make for boarding, when they even get admission and it is day, is that we live far away. So then they get somebody to write a letter for them that we are at Nakwanduri, meanwhile they are at East Legon Hills. You know, like Doc said, this manipulation of the system.
I am... So I have 2 issues with this particular news item. I want us to explore it. One would have thought that the TVET would have been made very attractive. There could be some conscious efforts at making the TVET rather very attractive so that we, just as Rev said, we can then, reduce the pressure on these others. I'm not sure we have had that. I don't know your thoughts on that, though.
Yeah, actually, the head of TVET, I think they have, I forget the main distance. The head, the whole gun actually. I just even had lunch with him last week.
Okay.
And I was talking with him about the TVET and how attractive it's supposed to be because that can bring very good industrialists out of.
That's right.
And his problem was that sometimes politics comes in.
That's right.
And so how they want to push the thing becomes some kind of way. Secondly, our mindset is that you are not really that good.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
So you're supposed to be, like, for example, the way I look at my children, at least my first 2 boys, and see how awesome medical doctors they will be. That's the parents' mindset.
Yes.
My children just go flat. No, I'm not interested.
Yeah, that's it.
My first boy, I wanted him to be a pilot.
Okay.
So that at least our hometown is very far. From here to Philippines, very far. If you're a pilot, you get some discount. My son just looked at me and said, Dad, you know you're kind of selfish, man. I said, oh, son, but why do you tell me that? He said, you know, I don't want to be a pilot.
Yeah, why are you
because of
forcing it?
let's take it, you want me to be a pilot. You see, so sometimes we parents also have a certain desire for our children.
Yeah.
Doc is always cracking me up.
So I just have to shut up.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
what you
yeah.
want to be? He said, you want to be a robotic engineer. Okay, you want to be a robotic engineer.
Which can get to pay for a lot of the flight tickets.
that
when
was
he
his
becomes-
argument.
Exactly.
That was his argument.
He gets more money. He pays for it. You don't have to be.
I'm an academic. I salute to a superior argument.
Exactly.
So I just kept quiet. Yeah, so, but I had always had a desire for my children to be doctors and lawyers.
Right.
Okay, but I came to realize that none of them,
No,
in fact,
we've
it's so
moved.
bad in my house that none of my children even support my team.
Like your football team.
My football team.
Also because of your stance sometimes and your choices, I guess.
I like the Blues. I like.
I'm sure. So the Blues, he's able to support a team that loses and then he still does a passionately.
Can you imagine?
Gen Z don't like that. They don't handle
that is
losing
something
very
cannot
well.
handle relationship because even Arsenal people are there.
Yes.
This thing is that the parents are advising their daughters, if you are looking for a faithful man, go for Arsenal. Because no matter how
He will stay with you. Then comes the case of what Prof, the GS Director General, Professor Ernest Davis is referring to, where he was calling for the cooperation of stakeholders, but most importantly, also speaking to the issues of cheating. Can you imagine that we've gotten to even a point where the results of these children are politicized? So who did better? And that's why there's that particular notion that a government that wants to have these achievements and tout these would have people do whatever it takes to float some of these papers in there. And that's what I guess Prof. Davis is saying, that, look, let the children go write it, whether they fail or pass. We then know the true state of the education sector. I mean, in the past, we've seen a lot of, if you like, APO, that's these leakages of examination papers and all of that. The Africa Education Watch has mounted a lot of different, has mounted a lot of surveillance and all of that. But that's where I'm sure he's coming from.
Kwaku, you see, the thing is, the issue of malpractice is very multifaceted. You see, because what you are describing as politics is in the party political space.
That's right.
There is also another realm of politics.
In the schools.
Thank you. Which is the educational marketing.
That's right.
So if you watch, there are schools that have billboards in town, who
there
are
has
always
been that.
telling you 100% pass rates. If your child goes here and doesn't pass, we'll refund your money. Oftentimes, it's not because of good teaching, but they are buying questions.
That's right.
They make sure that a bulk of their staff are actually examiners.
That's right.
And so they're able to filter through the system and know which examiners their school's papers have ended up with to go and induce them. So it's a very complex maze of corruption that is going on.
That's right.
And so I think WAEC and GAS can only do their bit. But if some of these undercover investigations can be launched into the operations of some of these schools, especially the private ones, we'll be able to fish out some of these things, because there are a plethora of mechanisms. For example, having the same questions but shuffling the order. So if it's an objective question, maybe 40 of them, maybe 1 out of every 10, question 1 is question 7 on the other. So those things, those options are available. Another option is having the same topics coming in those questions, but the questions are different. So if we're like a math question, it was a simultaneous linear equation question. This would be 2x plus y equals that, and 3x plus y. The other one would be x plus that. So we can set different sets of questions, and they are all within the same stream or within certain particular catchment, the same exam center. So there are ways that things can be juggled to minimize the exam malpractice and bring it down to the barest minimum. As for zero, I doubt it can happen, because I went to do my master's in the theological seminary. And we are pastors, but we had invigilators.
I'm about to come.
Yeah, we had to be searched before entering the exam room. Everybody too can pray in tongues in the room.
Yeah.
So why all these stringent measures? Because we know that not all men are righteous.
That's right.
Like Papa Nico say, not all men are righteous.
That's right.
Some people are there, their mouth is speaking their tongue, but their hearts that is towards them, it's a little bit small. Their hearts is not small to be totally surrendered to Jesus. So some of these things will happen, but the educational merchandising is a very big issue that must be looked at.
Right. I think we've talked about the nurses already. I think in a way.
No, but Doc didn't have a bite at that.
Okay. And also the U-tag and the 2-tag and C-tag, you have also told them to relax and all of that and to all. So let's just do the final. Yeah, the strikes. I mean,
please, anybody trying to strike now, wait next year. The government needs time to settle. We are begging you, because it's too early in the day. It's too early in the day. We beg in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ.
Interesting.
And on behalf of JM and his cabinet, please have mercy on us and then start your strike after the November budget is read and you don't see your issues being addressed. Let's all hold our horses for now and let's get the system to settle properly, please.
Let me just put all of these together, and this has to do with the Ghana High Commission in Abuja faces closure of over unpaid ground rent. And so the Ghana's High Commission Defense Section in Abuja is among 34 foreign missions at risk of being shut down by the Federal Capital Territory Administration over failure to pay ground rent, according to a report by The Punch. The Federal Capital Territory Administration, FCTA, has issued a stern warning to all defaulting diplomatic missions to clear their outstanding rent obligation, some dating as far back as 2014, some of them, right? Affected embassies were given a 14-day grace period, which expired yesterday, Monday, June 9th, 2025, following a directive from the Nigerian President Bola Tinubu. I'm surprised, though, that we have not been able to buy property in Nigeria, just close by. That's my surprise. But let me just quickly put together this statement that was also issued by the Foreign Affairs Minister, Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa. This one has to do with the responses to people who have also mentioned quite a number of other missions across the world of their ineptitudeness or some of their behaviors. And so it's quite, let me just do that quickly. And this is what he put on his Facebook page. All your justified grievances about the lack of responsiveness and discourteous conduct at some of the Ghana's diplomatic missions abroad have been duly noted. I should also indicate that I read with considerable outrage Professor Kojo De's article on his rather displeasing experience at 2 of our missions in the past. Such condemnable conduct won't be allowed on my watch. Whereas a good number of our missions pursue excellence, consular empathy, and high professionalism, a few missions have clearly not impressed with their many years of poor service. As Foreign Affairs Minister, even though this worrying state of affairs predates my tenure, I take full responsibility and hereby assure that decisive measures are being taken to remedy the situation consistent with President Mohammed's research agenda. I have therefore instituted the following new policy interventions to address our legitimate concerns, or your legitimate concerns. 1, a new code on how all those who engage with our mission should be treated has been developed. 2, directives on the reconfiguration of phone system to allow for the accommodation of multiple simultaneous calls have been issued. I can't imagine that this was not there. Wow. 3, all official phone calls to our embassies, high commissions, and consulates will now be recorded for periodic review by management to assess levels of professionalism and consular empathy. 4, mechanisms have been put in place with service providers to conduct regular verification to ascertain if calls from the general public are being responded to by embassy officials. 5, strict protocols of responsiveness and accessibility are being made of our novel KPIs for soon to be appointed ambassadors and high commissioners. 6, officials whose conduct falls short of the prescribed standards of responsiveness and acceptable consular relations will face appropriate sanctions. Of course, he has other paragraphs. These are our last story.
You said something that actually was also going on in my mind, that I'm surprised why just our neighbor Nigeria, not just our neighbor, our brothers, that we can't buy any property there. How many Nigerians own properties in Ghana? That we cannot, you have to rent, and for 11 years you have not paid. That made me also blame actually the owner of the building. How in the world somebody have not paid you for 11 years, or for more than 10 years? And they're supposed to have done something about it long time ago. And so I am still not sure how other consulates and embassies are doing this thing. I always refer to, back in those days, my embassy was in Malaysia. And I mean, it was some kind of cry. So I'm really hoping that these people are supposed to know that they represent us in a foreign country. And so whatever that our nation or our country, our government needs to do in order for us to be represented well, they really need to do it.
Right.
Because it doesn't look good at all. You remember the one that happened in UK, that they have to sell it. Ajapin's supposed to go and fight for it. They say he's supposed not to go. I mean, all back and forth. We don't even know what has happened to it. And so that is all actually I will say.
Yeah. Finally.
Well, I don't know whether I fully understand
Which one?
the issue of whether it is ground rent or rent for the building. You see, because
Ground rent.
because
okay,
sometimes it may be that you own the building.
Yes.
But
you are
then,
not paying
exactly,
ground
yeah.
rent. Yeah.
That would
So
be true.
and oftentimes ground rent goes into a lot of arrears because people forget to pay.
Yeah.
You know, like even when I have built my house,
Yes.
there's normally a very small, almost insignificant figure that is put there that you are going to give your landlord, let's say 10 cedis per annum.
That's true.
You know, for as long as you live. And then so somebody just triggers that. You know, so because for so many consulates to be in violation or in debt, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because ideally, if it's rent, it is always factored into the budget. So there should be some attempt to defray the bills as and when. So if it's piled up like that, then maybe it could be this. I trust that. I mean, our Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs, so far, I think he's been one of the outstanding ministers, and I'm sure that he'll be on top of this thing too.
Quick one.
To try and solve it.
Before we go, people have had concerns with the way he's treated some of these diplomatic issues. Says that most of these must not come out because it borders on the image of Ghana. I know you are not an expert in international diplomacy, but what your thoughts are.
But we've had this conversation.
Yes, maybe we reiterate.
Because I mean, in private, of course, not on air. I mean, I believe that there are two streams of ministers under President John Mahama, and over time it will iron out. If you watch very carefully, you see that the much experienced ones, they are not doing their things on social media. You will never see Haruna Idrusu putting anything there. You know, the era of nukes and making noise and trying to look like a champion killer. They have passed that stage. You get my point. And then we have the younger hot-blooded. So you always see some George Ghanaians. I'm getting you some tariff rebate very soon. I'm with you. Special rates on holidays. See Ashanti Regional Minister, Chale, you know, walking like, you know, Chale, Bundundum Jano, you know, and all that. So when I just see it as youthful exuberance. It's only that, unfortunately, for Honorable Kujetua Blakwa, where he occupies, he doesn't have the luxury of putting things out there in the public domain, because, in fact, if you watch carefully, all the ambassadors, when they are outside, have a prefix to their name which corresponds to the president. They are called Her Excellency, His Excellency, you know. So there's a level to which they are received in the diplomatic space. So matters should be treated hush-hush as much as possible, you know. And then, so that one, I mean, I fully agree with those who have raised those concerns. And I think that he did some good broad consultation before he took the office. If any of those people can prevail on him, that listen, I mean, when Behu and the rest, Dr. Behu and the rest were, you won't hear film.
Also because there was no social media out there.
But even if there was, I mean, you see, even if you look at how he's conducted himself, even when all these social media things have come, I see the people like the Dr. Kospil, Gabres, and the rest, there's a certain bit, see, the thing is exuberance, you know, like there are things that I find myself even saying as a preacher. you know, and sometimes I hear other preachers say the same thing. Say, Charlie, I wish I had listened to them first, because it comes out in a more mature, fine-tuned, refined way, you know. He said the thing has gone through some filters.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
but we were on the spur of the moment.
That's right.
Pierre, well, yes, then we call people's underwear color and thing. What people say are prophetic is sharp.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, let me just say this, just a joke on not a joke, but just by the side.
Yeah.
I have a mentor, right, who is a prophet. So when they ask him that, why is that normally when you see things, you just tell people, oh, the Lord has shown me you were born on this day. Say it's true. Okay, He has asked me to tell you A, B, C, D. I said, you have to, you know. I said we used to do that when we were small boys. I said, that one is they are looking for validity. We passed that stage long ago.
I see. Anyways, these are our thoughts, and this is what happens here on the News Review segment. I hope you enjoyed it. We're glad that you can come. Very busy individuals, but here you are. Dr. Justice Apia Kubi is a development expert, of course, the Dean for Dominion Theological Seminary, and also Reverend Anaya Apia Kubi.
Nanaya Bafaboni.
But I told you I'm also Nanaya, though.
Yes. He has given your surname to it. Since you've been worrying me about my surname.
No.
So I will do a name change.
No, the Bafaboni is very powerful.
Yes, Reverend Anaya Bafaboni is an architect by profession, of course, and also leads the Eagles Network International Ministries. Grateful to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. We will take a break. When we come back, Sports is up. You want to stay with us?